All right, welcome back to the final part of the lockdown story, the story of Freaky Friday, and the rest of the malarkey. So, I'm going to try and wrap up. Well, I will wrap everything up in this episode. We've covered pretty much how it went, how it was going. I mentioned a lot of high points. But as with everybody during that period of uncertainty, there was inevitably going to be low points. And compounded with everything, the low points were probably, and I speak for a lot of people, lower than the lowest you've ever felt and been subjected to for various reasons. So I think the first Christmas was a tricky one for a lot of people because many of the restrictions had been in place for the thicker part of a year by this point. And we've been in lockdown in one form or another. And Christmas that year highlighted more than ever the absolute loss for us personally, because it's our busiest period of every year, obviously. And on the flip side, it was your time generally to come and be entertained. That's what you do. You have your company Christmas do's, your mates all get together. So boom, that wasn't happening. Ta-da. Yeah. And nor was there any chance of family gatherings unless you were in this fucking bubble of 4 or 6 or whatever the fucking shit they were chucking at us at the time. And it was, in retrospect, what a crock of shit, seriously. I'm not a big family gathering Christmas type, but I know a lot of people were really missing the closest friends, family, terribly. So that Christmas has got to go on record as the worst. It's got to be the worst Christmas ever for most people, apart from me. I quite enjoyed it because I didn't have to do all that festive bollocks. We'd done it in Julymas, hadn't we? So, yeah. So we're into a new year and fastly approaching a whole year in lockdown, which was just going back to that first Boris bombshell. Them two words go together quite often now, don't they? But the first bombshell, you thought, oh, that'll be a couple of weeks, a month at most. Fuck me, we're a year into it now. A year. Wow. And this was at the point where I think he was the Deputy Prime Minister. This was that wanker who's unelected now, fucking Roland Rat Rishi. And he was telling people to retrain to get a new job. I'm not being funny. I didn't fucking train to do the job I've had for 30 years. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whatever. So, at the turn of the year, within the first couple of months, we're talking about the low points. A couple of really close losses hit home. One was a good friend of ours' father, and the other a good friend of mine and many other people's since school days. Yeah, they both passed on. Firstly, my friend's father. It's just horrible. I can't imagine. Because personally, for me, it was the feeling of helplessness. When somebody dies, you comfort your friends. You go to them, you do whatever you can. Even if you don't say anything, you can be there. You know what I mean? But just wasn't happening. You couldn't comfort them personally. So the feeling of isolation, and add to that the eventual funeral restrictions. I think my friend's father, I think they weren't allowed more than 4 people, which is fucking ludicrous. How that played out, I can't imagine how surreal sat there that would have felt. And knowing that your friends are hurting so much at this time. I mean, on top of everything else, they've got to deal with bereavement. Just ridiculous. The restrictions that you were put under when, at that time, the bastards who were telling you and putting the restrictions on you were breaking them on a fucking daily basis. Corrupt Tory bastards, seriously, who'll probably never be held accountable. So that was the first loss to hit home. And then my old schoolmate Pete Marshall, when the news came about Pete dying, it was just devastating. It was devastating for so many people, and still is some 2 years on. And this is the reasons I want to talk about these losses. Firstly, the only way that we could pay our respects, particularly for Pete, was to stand on the roadside, socially distanced from anybody else, and just bow your head when the hearse went past. And honestly, to this day, and I can't imagine it'll ever be different, it is the most undignifying thing I've ever had to do to show dignity and to show respect. And Pete had such a massive circle of friends, and none of us could console each other personally. It was just awful. It was awful. It's the only way to describe it. More so, the more you learn on a weekly basis that them bastards were doing as they fucking wanted. I remember that particular Friday following Pete's death, doing the Freaky Friday show, and I dedicated a song by the Proclaimers. I sang it that night, and it's got to be the most heart-wrenching. I mean, the song rips me apart at best of times, and I still don't know why, because geographically Sunshine on Leith means nothing to me. There's just something about the song that just cuts through everything. It is a phenomenal song. And I remember just having to get through the song, and it was fucking hell, it was hard. Yeah, I was in bits. Bless. What I will say though, because it's easy to say, you know, I can't do the show tonight. Too gutted. It's happened on a few occasions where somebody close to us has died, and music. This is where you're in such a privileged position sometimes that you often these probably take for granted. When it happens, I think I've always kind of just got on and done the gig, because music helps massively. Not just you immerse yourself in it, and you disappear into the music, and you disappear for that brief period or whatever that night. But also what you're portraying, I think, helps. Music's a massive healer, and as hard as that night was, and you know, weeks later, months later, it mattered. It helped. It helped me. It helped a lot of people. I know that for a fact. But that was a tough time. That was, particularly with everything else that was going on. So I'll drink to that. Cheers to them too. And anybody else who suffered during that period. It was fucking wrong. Anyway, and relax. So a big chance happened for us round about March. Big Ray wanted to start knocking me fucking dining room about. Get rid of the brick wall. You know, perfectly happy with my house for the last 30 years, but she wanted to be in it, didn't she? Of course she did. You know why? Because I was in it. Yeah. So we took a decision. And as you know, it was gig central. We're in the dining room. We're over a year into it. So we thought, what are we going to do? And a very, very good friend of ours said, look, he is the owner of the Wortley House Hotel in Scunthorpe, where we do an awful lot of work. And they obviously weren't open, but legally we could go set the equipment up because of the size of the building, and we could use the concert room to carry on doing shows. So it was like, wow, thank you. So imagine there's just me and Big Ray in a room, a cabaret room, Scunthorpe's premier cabaret room. It's a great place for music. Normally that dance floor's full, 200 odd people, and then flip that on its head, there's just me and Big Ray in that room performing to you lot. It was fucking eerie. It was eerie. I don't believe in ghosts and stuff, but it was weird. And the downside was there was no fridge anywhere near, so bang went the tramp juice. But on the plus side, we had a full stage to go at, so I could throw my shapes out there, you know what I mean, and do some proper dancing in Big Ray's birthday pants, if you remember. So a massive debt of gratitude, I have to say, to Jez O'Reilly, Jez up at the Wortley. And during that period, and has continued to, Jez did thousands upon thousands of meals for various charities and vulnerable people. Jez is a very, very good egg. Yeah, don't tell him I said that, all right, because I normally call him a twat. But yeah, he's a top bloke, and he helped us out massively, so you lot owe him a debt of gratitude as well, because it enabled us to carry on doing the live shows. So that was fabulous, and it was odd, very odd. There's no way to describe it. And in the latter stages, we got a few private bookings. Now these were bizarre, because instead of doing like the Facebook Live, these were done through Zoom. And I wasn't familiar with Zoom at the time. Wow. Yeah, different kettle of fish. So unlike just singing straight to a screen, Zoom comes back at you on your phone, and you've got all these boxes like fucking, look like a panel show, you know what I mean? There's all these boxes. Can't remember what that one was. So I'm singing into the phone, and I'm trying to stylize vocally to a very high level, which you know I find incredibly easy to do. But Nora, in the top left-hand corner, she's having a chat with a fucking budgie. Oh, yeah. Oblivious to me. And then in the bottom right-hand corner, old Terry is getting a little bit touchy-feely with his golden retriever. Yeah, fucking golden receiver more like. But Zoom probably was the weirdest experience, I think, of the whole entertaining. But the nature of that gig, it was set up by a lovely lady who took various devices around to very vulnerable people whose family couldn't visit them and that. And they were computer illiterate, to be honest. So they just switched it on, says, don't do that, and you'll watch them at 7 o'clock for an hour, whatever. So we had one or two of those shows. And yeah, they were weird. But I do remember the woman having a right chat with the budgie. I says, oh, trying to fucking sing here. So, without dragging out the last few months, I want to wrap it up really. I just want to finish with a couple of instances that have occurred. As Big Ray said on episode 3, these occur even 2 years after on monthly, whatever, weekly basis, and it's still, it still knocks you for 6 when it happens. So we just got back to what was been billed as the new normal, which, let's be fucking honest, it wasn't, and it still isn't now. I was setting up at a gig one afternoon. This was probably, I don't know, a year and a half later, maybe, even a bit longer. I was setting up at a gig, and the lady who worked there, she timidly, quite timidly approached me, and she said very shyly, she said, Mash, can I please give you a compliment? And I went, I'd rather have a criticism, to be honest. Just deflecting the situation and not trying to indulge in conversation, to be honest. But she said, no, I've got to pass a compliment, please, to you and Rachel. And she said, when you did the Dirty Dancing and Grease special, which we did through the Wortley House Hotel page, sponsored by Jez again, which was great. She says, when we did the Dirty Dancing and Grease special, it was the last day that she spent nursing her very, very poorly daughter. And that was the last day they spent together. And she said they laughed, they cried, they hugged. And she said, to have that last day, you'll never know what it meant. And this was just, I'll fucking jaw hit the floor. I was in bits. It was extremely touching, because like I've said in the past, and even now, I don't ever take for granted what we did, but sometimes you don't realise the enormity of how it touched people, because you're just cracking on with your job, aren't you? And when things like that occur, it's like, wow. So yeah, she wanted to thank us for those precious memories. I went, all right. Yeah, hands up, what do you say at times like that? And that was like a year and a half after. So, just about done, folks. This could have been a 10-parter, could have gone really in depth, but I've skimmed over a lot of stuff. If there's any things I haven't mentioned, any people in particular, I do apologise. Chances are you're just fucking insignificant to me. Only joking. And I do realise that try to keep this last episode shorter, because most of you have got the attention span of a goldfish. Yeah, I just want to keep this last bit shorter because most of you have got the attention span of a goldfish. So I tried to keep this last bit shorter because most of you have got the attention span of a goldfish. So a massive thank you from Big Ray. She's in the house, feet up, drinking gin, mother's ruin. We'd never ever appreciate some of it to the level that perhaps we should, but you don't do that, do you? You're just thankful that you cracked on. Every experience, every Friday, every Wednesday, every Sunday was just brilliant. There was over 100 shows because I had it on me the laptop at the time. I had to put the shows together every week. There was over 100 shows during that period. And it's absolutely true. We had the best of times at the absolute worst of times. And for me personally, all the gigs were the most I've ever enjoyed gigs in 30 odd years of blagging this thing I call a career. It felt intimate, it felt honest, it felt real. And if you were to give me, I'd say if you were to give me, I've stuck my neck out a few times and said this, if you would say, right, there's half your yearly wage of what you normally get paid, stay in and do that the rest of your life, I would snap your fucking hand off. I just loved it. I loved everything about it. I would do it in a heartbeat because the instant connection was just there, straight to you. I mean, you felt that, and I felt that, without distractions or some fucker ruining it. It was magnificent. So raise a bit of tramp juice to you all. Thank you for each and every one of you, right across the globe, of which there were many, many countries who joined in and people. Cheers. Keep smiling. Enjoyed the song at the end. It's the one that was a toughie to get through. Listen to the original. It's far better than me singing it. And I just finished by saying thank you. And I'll see you in the next lockdown, which is on its way soon. Trust me. The Weffer bastards. Don't trust them. Thank you all. Love yous. Go in now. How do you turn this bugger off? How do you turn it off? Ta-da! My heart was broken. My heart was broken. Sorrow, 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 sorrow. My heart was broken. My heart was broken. You saw it, you claimed it, you touched it, you saved it. My tears are drying. My tears are drying. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. My tears are drying. My tears are drying. Kindness made tears clear my blindness. While I'm worth my room on this earth, I'll be with you. While the chief sunshine on me, I thank him for his work and your birth and my birth. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My heart was broken. My heart was broken. Sorrow, 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 sorrow. My heart was broken. My heart was broken. You saw it. You claimed it, you touched it, you saved it. While I am worth my room on this earth, I will be with you. And while the chief put sunshine on me, I'll thank him for his work and your birth and my birth. Oh.